What would you do if a game you played to relax suddenly reached out and pulled you inside? Not an animation, not a glitch. A real pull, a real world, a real garden. This is what happened to me the night the soil opened. After finally getting my child to sleep and finishing the last lingering chores of the day, the house settled into an unfamiliar silence that made me pause in the hallway. I wasn't used to quiet anymore. Motherhood rarely allowed it. I walked toward my small desk, the only corner that still felt like it belonged entirely to me. The warm glow of my monitor lit the room softly, waiting patiently as if it somehow knew I would end up here tonight. My desk wasn't impressive, just a worn wooden surface covered in scattered papers, a chipped mug holding pens that barely worked, and my old keyboard with keys that clicked louder than they should. But this space had become my sanctuary, the place where I could sit for a moment and feel like more than a tired mother. When I sat down, the faint hum of the computer wrapped around me like a gentle reminder that this, at least, was familiar. Roblox was still open from earlier, frozen on the homepage with its bright colors glowing softly across the dim room. Sometimes I didn't even play. I just left it open to remind myself that small escapes still existed. Tonight, though, I needed something gentle. My chest felt heavy from the day's weight, and my hands moved automatically as I scrolled through the game list, searching for anything quiet enough to match the silence around me. Most of the games felt too loud, even in thumbnail form: bright obbies, chaotic simulators, flashing titles demanding attention I didn't have the energy to give. I kept scrolling slowly until my eyes paused on the familiar icon I always ran to when the day felt overwhelming. Grow a garden. It wasn't exciting, but it was peaceful, predictable, a tiny patch of calm I could nurture, even when I couldn't manage anything else in my real life. I clicked on the game, feeling a small wave of relief as the loading screen drifted into view. Soft greens and gentle shapes filled the monitor, soothing in a way I couldn't explain. I leaned back slightly, letting the light touch my face, allowing myself to imagine that maybe tonight I could rest. Not sleep, not fully unwind, but rest, just a little enough to feel like I hadn't completely disappeared inside the routine I carried every day. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear the soft rhythm of my child breathing through the cracked bedroom door. It made me smile faintly. I loved them more than anything, but moments like this, quiet, still, and mine, felt rare and fragile. As the progress bar moved slowly across the screen, I let out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, feeling my shoulders finally release their tension. Quiet was supposed to feel relaxing, but tonight it felt almost unnatural, like the silence had weight. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was the strange way the room felt: too still, too expectant. I rested my fingers on the mouse, grounding myself through the familiar shape of it. Just a few minutes, I whispered to no one, promising myself that this small escape was harmless. Just a gentle break before sleep finally claimed me. The loading screen brightened slightly, and I watched as the soft pastel colors faded into the first glimpse of the garden I knew so well. I thought nothing unusual of it. If anything, I felt grateful. But in hindsight, it's clear now that this was the last uncomplicated moment I would have for a long time. Tonight, the quiet wasn't simply quiet. It was the calm before something I never expected. Something waiting just beyond the next click. The world loaded slowly, fading in like a gentle dream. Soft green grass spread across the screen, dotted with simple trees swaying in an invisible breeze. The familiar wooden fence circled the tiny garden plot, and for a moment, the sight alone softened something tight in my chest. This place had always felt harmless, a small world that offered quiet when my real one refused to. Tonight, though, it felt strangely brighter, like the colors had been polished. And then I saw her Mutharavatar 01, standing beside the soil patch exactly where I left her last time. Her pastel green shirt, brown pants, and apron looked subtly different, textured in a way I didn't remember. Her ponytail moved with a slow, lifelike sway that caught me off guard. I leaned closer to the screen, wondering if Roblox updated without telling me. But there was something else, too. Something about her stillness felt aware. I moved the mouse slightly, and her head turned toward the garden with a smoothness that felt too natural for a blocky character. Her movement wasn't glitchy or stiff, it was almost graceful, like she was responding thoughtfully instead of mechanically. I pressed W. She stepped forward with a small, realistic shift in weight, her feet leaving soft impressions in the soil. For a moment, I stopped breathing, unsure if I imagined it. I rotated the camera around her slowly. Everything looked familiar, but enhanced in ways I couldn't explain. Her clothes cast softer shadows, the soil shimmered slightly under the light, and even the wooden fence appeared sharper. It was like the entire game world had been quietly improved. I told myself it was nothing, a graphics update, maybe, but deep down, I felt a strange tug of uneasiness. Something in this garden was subtly wrong. I made her walk toward the watering can, expecting the usual stiff animation, but her hands reached for it smoothly, fingers curling around the handle in a way that felt almost motion captured. The sound of her footsteps echoed softly through my headphones, just a faint tap, but clearer than before. I swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel impressed or unsettled. This garden wasn't supposed to be immersive. It was supposed to be simple. I tilted the camera toward the sky, letting the bright blue fill the screen. The clouds drifted overhead, but something about them felt off. They weren't looping the way Roblox clouds always did. Some drifted faster, some slower, and one cloud even stalled briefly before continuing. I blinked, confused. Maybe the devs changed the weather system. But a quiet part of me whispered something else, something I didn't want to consider. My chest tightened slightly as I looked back down at the garden. Everything was still peaceful, but the silence felt heavier than before, like the world was waiting for me to do something. I guided Mother Avatar 01 back toward the soil patch, trying to ignore the odd feeling crawling up my spine. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired. But the way her shadow stretched beside her made me feel watched. I lifted the camera for a final sweep across the garden, trying to reassure myself that everything was fine. But the air felt thick, like the game was holding its breath. I made her approach the soil patch, preparing to water the first seed. The cursor hovered over the plot, and the gentle music of the game played softly in the background. Yet beneath it, something quieter stirred, a subtle wrongness I couldn't name. Something beneath this garden was waiting. I guided Mother Avatar 01 toward the soil, feeling a strange uneasiness settle over me as I prepared to water the first sprout. When I clicked the watering can, I expected the usual blue droplets. But instead, a soft stream of shimmering light poured out, thin, glowing, almost liquid, but not like any animation I'd ever seen. It slid into the soil with a quiet sigh, illuminating the ground from beneath as if waking something hidden. The tiny sprout reacted instantly. It twitched once, then shot upward in a jerked, unnatural burst of growth, skipping every stage between seedling and full maturity. No transition, no animation frames, just a sudden jump, like time had blinked. I stared at it, frozen. The plant glowed faintly at the base, pulsing with the same shimmering light that had poured from the can, as if it had absorbed more than just water. For a moment, I expected a pop-up message to explain the strange behavior on event, a boost, anything, but nothing appeared. The garden UI stayed still and silent, offering no explanations. I moved the camera upward, checking the sky, and caught the exact moment a jagged line of broken pixels ripped across the clouds. It was thin, sharp, and quick like a glitch, slicing the sky open. Behind it, for a heartbeat, I saw something too bright to be sky. The line vanished almost instantly, leaving the clouds looking perfectly normal again. But the air around me felt charged, like static had crawled into the room through my headphones. A low hum began underneath the game's soft music, faint at first, then slowly growing clearer. I shifted in my chair, uneasy. This wasn't part of the game. It felt like the sound had traveled from somewhere deeper, like the world was making space for something. I tapped the movement key, wanting to step my avatar back from the glowing plant. But instead of moving instantly, Mother Avatar 01 hesitated, a tiny, uncomfortable pause. Then she took a single, reluctant step back. I pressed the key again. Another pause, another slow movement. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but something about it made my stomach twist. It felt like the garden was deciding whether she was allowed to move. The hum in my headphones shifted into something deeper, layered with faint static. It wasn't loud, but it felt close to close. I rotated the camera around the garden, searching for any explanation, but it was still just the fence, the trees, the grass, and that unnaturally grown plant pulsing gently in the glow. The silence of the world felt alive, like the garden had opened its eyes for the first time and was staring right at me. I tried to reassure myself that it was just a bug, maybe a strange visual update, but every instinct in my body whispered otherwise. Games didn't breathe, worlds didn't watch, soil didn't glow from the inside out. I rested my fingers on the mouse, feeling them tremble slightly. The shadows in the garden stretched in unnatural angles, as if following a light source I couldn't see. Something beneath the soil was shifting, waiting for the next command. I tried to laugh the fear off, but the sound caught in my throat. I made Mother Avatar 01 slowly approach the soil again, compelled by equal parts curiosity and dread. The soil around the plant shimmered softly, and tiny motes of light drifted upward like sparks. This wasn't a glitch, it felt intentional. And for the first time since opening the game, I felt a subtle awareness press against me, like something on the other side knew I was here. I moved Mother Avatar 01 closer to the glowing plant, trying to make sense of the strange, pulsing light. The soil beneath it shimmered, almost breathing with a rhythm that didn't belong in a simple garden game. I lowered the camera, leaning closer to the screen. That's when I noticed the first hairline fracture cutting through the dirt, thin, straight, and impossibly clean, like the earth had been sliced open with a perfect geometric blade. The crack widened, inch by inch, with no dirt falling away from the edges. It didn't crumble or break naturally. It separated with mechanical precision, the two sides pulling apart as if following an invisible pattern. A faint teal glow seeped from the opening, casting light onto my avatar's legs. The hum from before deepened, vibrating through my headphones like a heartbeat hidden beneath the ground. I pressed the movement key instinctively, wanting to back away. But Mother Avatar 01 didn't move. She stood perfectly still, even though I was pushing the key hard enough to make the plastic creak. For a moment, I thought my keyboard froze until her head slowly turned down toward the widening crack on its own. My breath caught. That wasn't me. That wasn't any animation I'd ever seen before. The soil split into a perfect square, each edge straight and smooth like a doorway carved into the earth. From the center, strange runes glowed, symbols that didn't belong in Roblox, shifting shapes that looked too detailed, too ancient. They pulsed in slow waves, each beat sending a soft shimmer across the garden. My avatar remained frozen at the edge, her shadow stretching toward the light as if being pulled into its glow. I leaned back slightly, heart thudding against my ribs. The screen felt too bright, the glow too real, like the game was bleeding into the room. The runes flickered, rearranging themselves in patterns that made no sense but felt deliberate. With each pulse, the sound in my headphones shifted, no longer static, but something deeper, almost like a distant voice trying to form a word through layers of distortion. The crack widened further, and a soft breeze drifted outward from the screen. stirring a loose paper on my desk. I froze. Roblox didn't do that. My mind scrambled for explanations. Overheating laptop, coincidence, anything. But the air felt cold, like it was coming from somewhere beneath the soil, carrying the faint scent of damp earth. I watched as the teal light wrapped around my avatar's feet, growing brighter. For a moment, the garden darkened around the edges, as if the entire world was dimming to highlight the glowing square. Mother Avatar 01 finally moved, but not away. Her body leaned slightly toward the crack, pulled as though gravity itself had shifted. I didn't touch the keyboard. The pull grew stronger, tugging her closer inch by inch. The runes inside the square spiraled, forming a pattern that felt like an invitation or a warning. The sound rising from the opening sharpened, no longer a hum but a soft call, rhythmic, echoing, almost musical. The garden faded at the edges, the colors stretching inward like paint being dragged into the center. I tried to move my avatar again, panic tightening in my chest, but she didn't listen. She took one final step on her own, standing at the edge of the glowing square. Then the soil beneath her erupted with light. The moment the soil erupted with light, the entire garden lurched. The grass, the trees, even the fence flickered like glitching fragments, bending toward the glowing square. The sound in my headphones deepened into a hollow, vibrating pulse that rattled through my chest. I tried to move Mother Avatar 01 back, but the controls felt numb, like the keys were being swallowed. She leaned forward again, drawn toward the crack by an invisible force I couldn't stop. A rush of bright teal particles shot upward from the square, spiraling around my avatar in a vortex that pulsed with energy. It wasn't part of any animation I recognized, moved too smoothly, too deliberately. The particles wrapped around her arms and legs, tightening like drifting ribbons. My screen stretched at the edges, colors warping inward, as if the entire world was collapsing into the center of that glowing doorway. The hum shifted into something sharper, almost like a whisper pressed through a layer of static. I didn't know what it was saying, but the tone sent a cold shiver down my spine. The room felt heavier, thicker, as if the air itself was being pulled into the monitor. My avatar moved without me touching anything, stepping directly onto the glowing square. The moment her foot touched it, the screen flashed white hot, blinding. A violent suction pulled at the screen, stretching the image inward as though the game was trying to inhale. The UI bent, the icons trembling on the edges before dissolving into scattered pixels. Mother Avatar 01's body elongated with the distortion, pulled downward into the light. I reached for my mouse, then the keyboard, hitting keys in panic, but nothing responded. The garden was gone, just swirling light, thick and alive, swallowing the entire world. Then the physical pull began, not in the game, not visually. I felt it, my hair shifting, the loose paper on my desk sliding closer to the monitor, the faint tug on my sleeves. My breath hitched. This wasn't possible. I pushed back from the chair, but the air felt like it had weight, dragging me toward the screen. The light flickered violently, and the whispering static grew louder, forming a pattern that felt dangerously close to a voice. The screen expanded outward in a blinding glow, swallowing the borders of the monitor completely. My vision blurred, the room stretching into pale streaks of color. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, syncing with the low pulse coming from the light. I tried to look away but couldn't. The glow was too strong, holding my gaze. It felt like something inside the light had its attention fixed solely on me, waiting for the final moment. Mother Avatar 01 vanished into the whiteness, her figure dissolving into strands of bright particles. As she disappeared, the pull intensified, dragging at my shoulders, my arms, my breath. The whispering static sharpened into a tone that resonated beneath my skin. For the first time, I felt a flicker of real fear, not for the game, but for myself. The air in front of the screen vibrated, trembling like a barrier about to break. And then it did. The light surged outward, swallowing the edges of my vision entirely. For a heartbeat, everything froze, no sound, no air, no movement. The world felt suspended in a single, impossible moment. Then the pull yanked forward with sudden, merciless force, dragging me through the brilliant white. My chair toppled behind me as I lunged helplessly forward. And just like that, my world, my room, everything vanished into the light. Everything dissolved into pure, blinding white. No shapes, no shadows, no sense of direction, just brightness stretching endlessly in all directions, like someone erased the world with a blank brush. I reached for something, anything, but my hands felt weightless, disconnected from gravity. There was no falling, no standing, no movement, just floating. The silence was so complete, it felt like my heartbeat was the only sound left in existence. Slowly, faint sparks of teal began to drift through the white, glowing like tiny embers suspended in air. They floated around me lazily, each leaving a soft trail of shimmering dust. The runes I saw earlier appeared faintly in the distance, barely visible outlines twisting into different shapes before fading again. They didn't feel threatening, but they didn't feel safe either. They felt aware, like they were watching with quiet curiosity. A distant echo vibrated through the void, soft and hollow, as if the world I came from had been reduced to a fading memory. My mind felt strangely calm despite the impossible situation, as though the whiteness itself was numbing my fear. Time didn't seem to exist here. There was no before or after, just this never-ending moment of suspension. I couldn't even tell if my eyes were open or closed anymore. For a moment, I thought I saw my avatar's silhouette flicker ahead of me, outlined in faint teal light. Her posture was frozen, almost peaceful, as if she were waiting. But each time I tried to focus on her, the shape dissolved, scattering into particles that drifted away like dust on a quiet breeze. It felt like she was trapped between forms no longer fully mine, but not entirely gone either. A strange ache settled in my chest. The whiteness shifted subtly, swirling around me like mist being guided by a slow, unseen current. The runes drifted closer, faintly rotating in patterns I couldn't decipher. A gentle vibration hummed beneath them, almost musical, pulling my thoughts toward the center of the void. I tried to speak, to ask where I was, or what was happening, but my voice made no sound. The void swallowed the words completely, leaving only silence. Then a soft pulse radiated through the white, like a heartbeat rippling outward. The teal sparks brightened, gathering around me with growing intensity. The runes aligned for a brief moment, forming a perfect circle before breaking apart again. The pulse repeated, stronger this time, vibrating through the empty space. It felt like something was trying to break through another world, pressing against the barrier of this strange void, urging me toward it. A thin crack of color appeared far ahead, just a sliver at first, barely noticeable, but growing brighter with each pulse. Soft greens, warm browns, and scattered pastel tones leaked through the whiteness like a painting being revealed stroke by stroke. I felt a tug, gentler than before, guiding me toward the shifting colors. It wasn't forceful. It felt almost inviting, like the world beyond was unfolding just for me. The crack widened into a doorway of swirling light and color. I felt gravity return in a slow, steady wave, pulling my weight downward. The whiteness peeled away like thin fabric being lifted, revealing a world beneath it. I didn't resist. There was nowhere else to go. As the void faded completely, the last thing I saw was a final spark of teal hovering before me, and a sudden burst of warmth, and the new world swallowed me whole. Before this world pulls me any deeper, I need to ask you something. If you've stayed with me through every flicker, every strange sound, every impossible moment, then you already know this place isn't just a game anymore. I don't want to face what comes next alone. Stay with me. Make sure you're subscribed so we can see what waits on the other side together.